Soup.
Oh, cut that off before we get copyrighted. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are here to review Part 3 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And no surprise, the takes about episodes 1 and 2 were very spicy on the internet, as it is always with Star Wars. But going into Part 3, like I said, I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, so I was excited. Had no idea it was coming out on Wednesdays. They switched that up on me.
Yeah, a surprise, but a welcome one.
Yeah, but this episode to me...
Just Star Wars.
It really was a mixed bag, where I felt that some moments were really epic and things that I've wanted to see from certain characters in this episode, and then there were other parts that just feel a bit amateurish, where the I don't know if it's the directing, the editing, a combination of both, and even some of the scenes where the tone switches and some writing choices I had some issues with. So I don't know, what did you think about this episode, Part 3?
I enjoyed it for the most part. I do think... like we talked about last week, where it feels like they're stretching some aspects out just for it to be a series. I felt a little bit like that in this episode, but, I think with this series, I think we're 3 episodes in of a 6-episode series, and I feel like with Obi-Wan, who's supposed to be your main focus in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, really hasn't... I mean, he's done things. He's been moving around, obviously trying to get Leia and all that, but I feel like his personal... struggle. I think I would have wanted more for this character at this point in the series. And obviously there's still time for him to really focus on, for them to really focus on his character and, give us something new. But I guess, just a disillusioned Jedi or someone who's turned his back or cut himself up from the Force is... I feel like just kind of surface level at this point.
Yeah, it is surface level, and I think if the show was just focused on his character and what he's dealing with mentally on Tatooine, and if there was a dispute on Tatooine that gets him back into the fight, where if, he sees the safe house where all the Jedi are scratching their name, and he recognizes Quinlan Vos, who's a character Star Wars fans will recognize from the Clone Wars and some of the novels, and, you see him starting to believe again. But like you said, it is very surface level, and it's the older person has lost their way, and they're going to be humanized by a younger character who's a bit more innocent, even though she is obviously more clever than the average 10-year-old. But yeah, it feels like the story's just kind of wandering, where so much of it is based on the relationship Obi-Wan and Darth Vader had in the past, so we're building towards these confrontations. And although that confrontation was good, there were also issues I had with it, but... So this episode begins where they're on Mapuzo, the mining planet. So, I don't know, what did you think about the beginning? The idea of this planet was once thriving, families, and then the Empire came and tore it all down.
Yeah, and I like the perception of the Empire, where even Leia at this point is, still believes like the Empire is trying to keep us safe, and kind of like, they don't really get too much into it, but you could tell like just mass propaganda that the Empire is spreading throughout the galaxy and its citizens to be like, no, they're good. Like, the Empire...
Nothing wrong with a little order.
Nothing wrong with a little order.
Fucking hate Freck.
I feel like Freck, he's just trying to,
Yeah, no, he's trying
to make it in this
going
crazy
about
world.
His business.
He's got a family at home, 3 kids, 4th on the way. Let Freck live.
Was he at the Capitol riots? You gotta check that footage. No, but that is interesting that the Empire... When Palpatine formed the Empire, his whole message was security and order. So yeah, they're probably thinking, this guy Palpatine, he's great. He's been such a great senator all this time. He got us through the war. He united us. They probably promised all of these planets. Yeah, not only are things going to be the same, but they're going to be better. Yeah. Which, of course, is ridiculous. And the ways of the Sith are being revealed through his authoritarian rule, where they're going to these once thriving planets and just ravaging them.
Well, I
wish that was kind of more the focus of the show. Yeah, leaning into that aspect.
And I kind of liked when even Obi-Wan, there's a line when he talks about his family and how he doesn't remember, like, he might have had a brother. He remembered a baby.
Right,
and it kind of, like, reminds you that, the Jedi are pretty fucked up also.
It's a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cult of magical wizards who basically kidnap children. I'm sure the package that they provide their families is nice. It's kind of like the NIL, where you could sell their likeness.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan t-shirts and jerseys and stuff like that. But that moment was a bit heartbreaking. And even the calls out to Qui-Gon, he's going to pop up.
Yes.
As a Force ghost. Because Liam Neeson says Liam Neeson says yes to everything. And yeah, like you said with Leia's perspective, where she comes from Alderaan, so she is coming from a place of privilege. So she's not aware of really all the bad and all the damage that the Empire has been doing. But I think that their relationship I mean, people have criticized this on the internet as well. I think such a funny point is if A New Hope came out today, so many people would not like Princess Leia. I do think there are some legit criticisms with the writing. It just comes off as a little goofy sometimes. And people always argue Star Wars is for kids. Yes, Empire Strikes Back is for kids. Doesn't mean it has to suck.
I saw someone say, like, I forget what it was in reference to, but it was like, Star Wars has always had bad writing. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of why most Star Wars kind of stinks.
Right, but the bad writing is, I was going to go bullseye some womp rats, or things that just, I don't know if you could call it stilted writing. Sometimes it's a bit goofy. A bit playful almost. It's not Shakespeare, obviously.
No, but...
And I don't think anybody's asking it to be, but going back to the moment where the guy donks his head on the branch, that's not for kids. That's just poorly done.
And I think, obviously, there are a lot of examples of things that are more geared towards kids, which I don't really think Star Wars has ever been, like, solely geared towards kids. It's been for everybody. And we've seen lots of media in the past that's for everybody not have some of the issues that they constantly have. And I do think a lot of it is difficulties. Like, I do think a lot of people struggle with writing children as characters. And I think, obviously, we talked about Leia and how, sometimes she sounds like Princess Leia that we know, but the older, more mature Princess Leia, not an exact little copy of her. And I think you can have elements of that and hints of it while mixing it in some of that innocence of being a child. And I think for the most part...
She is 9 years away from getting her PhD.
Yes. So I think for the most part, like, they kind of do balance that fairly well.
I think so, too. That's not my biggest criticism.
But I just think some, like, the circumstances and things they go into, like, she's just running around. Obi-Wan's terrible at being a father. Maybe,
She was taking charge here. People are going to be so pissed about that. Little Leia bossing around the white man. How could they?
I think Obi-Wan, he's a little bit more handling this situation with Kid Gloods. Obviously, he doesn't, he just met Leia. Obviously, he has, the past with the mother and father. But, I think, really the last time he was a father figure to somebody was Anakin. So maybe he is struggling with this, and he's kind of lost. And I don't necessarily hate that as where they're really going with this character. I just think maybe dive a little bit deeper into some of the elements that of what Obi-Wan is going through. But yeah, I think like that extended opening at times kind of felt a little fillery. But I did like the when they're trying to make the story, and even him calling her Leia instead of like Luga, whatever her name Luma. Her name was supposed to be. I thought that might have been like just a way for him to obviously then tell Leia how he reminds him of her
he's
mother.
Still a scumbag Jedi.
What?
Still got to keep the secrets.
Yeah,
you can't know.
But
that would be a lot to take in, even though she is mature for her age. Well, actually, your dad is Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm. He's coming to kill me.
Yeah, your mom was great.
Oh no, not a bad thing to say about your mother.
Yeah.
Although her choice in men.
That is true. A little bit too trusting.
That
was a big theme of this episode too, is that Obi-Wan can't trust anybody. So they get to the location where Kumail Nanjiani said someone will help you get back home, and no one's there, so Obi-Wan just gives up on it right away. There's no hope in this character, and he's seen a lot. But I think that's a character flaw for Obi-Wan. You mention it all the time, that the Jedi always tuck tail and cut loose when things go wrong. They don't even try and fight back. And he sees, I think he probably feels a little guilty seeing all the people who are fighting that aren't necessarily Jedi. That was a line that really stands out when Leia asks Tala, played by Indira Varma, Game of Thrones veteran, are all the people who are fighting back Force sensitive? Are they all Jedi? And she says, no, they're just everyday average people. And like I said, Obi-Wan definitely feels guilty about that. So I think that's why he does spring into action when Vader does show up on the planet. We might as well just jump right into that first scene with Vader. So awesome.
Yeah.
He's so fucking iconic. He's such a badass. The way he sits on the throne. The mask, the fact that was designed in 1977 and it still holds up, it's still scary. But just seeing the limbs chopped off and them having to actually attach the metal arms and the metal legs, it doesn't take away from anything from that character, the fear factor.
I think it adds to it.
Yeah, it really does, because he's just so damaged.
Yeah.
And you know what else I wanted to point out? James Earl Jones sounds great. I wonder if they touched up his voice this time around. Because in Rogue One, he sounded old, which is fair. He's like 88 at the time. But he sounded crisp in this one.
No, it's the voice, the breathing, the suit, like almost, 40 years? it's iconic for a reason. And like you said, it doesn't come off as a goofy at any time anymore. Where I feel like if in other circumstances where something was concepted all that time ago, and for it to still hold up today and still like strike fear or have this level of epicness to it is pretty incredible. And yeah, it's James Earl Jones, but just the design of that character. And yeah, like obviously I think some fans were a little bit split on like getting to see this character again. Like, I do not care at all. Give me as much Darth Vader as humanly possible.
Right. This is there are moments in this series that made me wish I was watching a Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi series.
I've been wanting that for so long.
I think I'm more on board with that than I've ever been. Because for a long time, my position was we've seen so much of Darth Vader, just let it rest. And I was hesitant coming into this series for the same reasons. You don't want to ruin what's already been good for so long. Because I don't think there has been a weak Darth Vader appearance. 3 first movies, Revenge of the Sith, Rebels, Rogue One, probably the best scene of Disney Star Wars to most people. But yeah, I'm ready for that. There are moments like the confrontation with Obi-Wan where I wish he was allowed to take that next step and just kill him. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. But if it was other Jedi in those circumstances where he was doing some of the things that he was doing to Obi-Wan to them, I think that would be such a great horror series. Nice little miniseries.
Even him just standing there in the dark with the lightsaber illuminating and you get to see him, like, it always makes for an excellent shot. Although I do wish, like, I think we talked about it before we started recording, with Obi-Wan, like, he has this moment where he's going to pull out his lightsaber, setting up this big moment, then he kind of just runs, and then he just pulls it out in some insignificant way. Like, when clearly there was some build-up to that moment, and they kind of just... There was a chance for it to be, like, him confronting Vader and pulling out the lightsaber, and then they kind of just do it. He runs away, and while he's on the run, he hears something and ignites it, and he's, like, looking around. I felt like that was very anticlimactic for something that they clearly were trying to build up.
And I think some of the film techniques there were, like I said, a bit amateurish when he confronts him for the first time, when Vader unleashes the lightsaber. It's such a great moment. And like you said, Obi-Wan just home run trots out of the scene. And then it cuts to a scene where he runs to the right, and then it cuts and he's running to the left. And it just didn't flow well. And like you said, the build up to him finally igniting his lightsaber, it did feel a bit anticlimactic, even though some of the moments in that confrontation were great. But this is what I wanted to see, obviously. I complained about it in episode 2. Whip out the lightsaber, fight Reva. So this time around, he did do it. And he was looking like Shaq on the Celtics, obviously. He needs to get back in Jedi shape. He's not in game shape. He hasn't done this in a long, long time. But I just want to go back to, the first action moment when they're about to be found out by the stormtroopers. I thought that was well done. Him with the blaster. I like Obi-Wan with the blaster when he turns into James Bond there for a second and he's able to foil that plan.
Yeah. That was definitely a cool moment for him. Though he takes out like 4 or 5 of them, then 3 come. He's like, fuck. Can't do that.
Well, yeah, this is over. This is a wrap. We got to surrender. I'm out of bullets. Those have bullets. But the tension they try to create when the stormtroopers tag along for the ride. Obi-Wan says it's a long story as to why we're here. And the stormtrooper goes, it's a long way. 2 minutes later, they're like, this is our stop.
Yeah, I thought the same exact
thing. All right,
thing.
Guys. So to me, sometimes the writing, I think that's an example of the writing being inconsistent, where they're trying to create tension and they're using different tools that we've already seen countless amounts of time. And I don't mind that. Like, I love all the visual references to the original trilogy, like when Obi-Wan and Leia are kind of just walking, and it's the long shot, and they kind of look like C-3PO and R2-D2. Or even when Obi-Wan slashes the smoke, it's reminiscent of what Luke did to Vader in Empire Strikes Back. But, sometimes when you're using some of these storytelling tropes, like I said, it's fine, but the writing there has got to be better. Because, there's going to be some tension. Oh, stormtroopers and our hero, And also, there's pictures of this guy all over the place. You don't think that they would say also he's traveling with a young girl?
Yeah, that's a couple of times like that where there were just... I felt like logic just wasn't there, especially for those stormtroopers in the back with him.
Yeah, I don't even mind things like breaking with continuity. A lot of people are getting so hung up on that. At this point, I don't care. But yeah, when you're throwing logic out of the window for when it's just your show, that is a bit frustrating. And I think there are definitely moments so far throughout all these episodes where it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I guess Reva explained that she read the archives.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we missed that in episode 2.
No,
Okay.
I remember that, but it's still, there's a leap for that to even, unless the archives are like just straight up the transcript from the prequel trilogy, like to make some of those leaps and bounds. I thought it was just a little convenient, but at the end of the day, like it gets the story to one point to another. I guess you got to keep it moving along, so whatever. And Reva, again, this episode, like showing her ambition, she basically, I guess, implies that the Grand Inquisitor is dead, which we don't believe. Or do we?
I think he just straight up might be dead and they retcon that.
Really?
He got stabbed through the gut. Obviously,
so
anybody
can cut in half.
Yeah, but I don't think Deborah Chow. That's the problem with Star Wars is when you don't let people do their own thing. Oh, Grand Inquisitor can't die because he's in a cartoon on the Disney Channel. It's just like, oh, who cares? And I wonder if that was the response to that. But obviously, it is Star Wars, so they could just do a little short where he was found and they patched him up, just like they did Fennec. Nobody dies in Star Wars.
No.
But I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the Grand Inquisitor reappeared in this series.
Mm-hmm.
I also wouldn't be surprised if he's just off the board and it becomes kind of a competition between Reva and Han from the fifth brother. Han from Fast and Furious. Not snacking in this one.
Not Solo.
No, different Han.
Okay.
Yeah. This Han shoots first and doesn't lie about it.
But yeah, it's kind of like Reva having that moment with Vader too. I thought that was pretty cool. Just like him basically reasserting his, I'm Vader. Like you felt like, yeah, if you do what's right, you're Grand Inquisitor. If you don't, you're dead.
Right, and he says, I know what you want. I wonder if it is just her ambition or if there is something deeper there with Obi-Wan, because a lot of fans have been speculating maybe she's one of the young Jedi in the cold open for episode 1.
I think that's probably where they're going to end up going, because they did bring that up, and when they didn't really give it to us with like Safdie or kind of pay that off in any way, I think the only really, unless like you said, it's just more of a thing for Obi-Wan personally, but he hasn't really touched upon that. Most of his stuff has been personal, not really what's going on with or what happened that day. So I think that's the avenue they're going to go to help kind of tie that all together.
Yeah, and of course, Star Wars had to release a statement telling fans to stop abusing the actress Moses Ingram with racist messages, because everybody claims they don't see color, I don't see race until a person of color is playing a character they don't like in Star Wars. And then all of a sudden their eyes turn into fucking kaleidoscopes. And then fans who say, well, it has nothing to do with race, I just don't like the character, why are you attacking me? Well, if you feel attacked from an anti-racist message, you may have to do some soul searching because that's not for you. And if you think it is for you, then maybe it is.
Yeah, that's like my big segue from that. It's like if you heard that statement and didn't go, well, fuck those people. Even though if I have a problem with the character, sure, whatever. But like if that message and like the way they really phrase it is something that like you were like thought you were being attacked on, then.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, if you think that message is for you, then little soul searching there.
Let's get off like a big tangent, but like every series this happens again and again. And going back to Jake Lloyd, Ahmad Best, fucking Kelly Marie Tran, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, now with Moses Ingram. It's like just time and time again, like these people are just being harassed for characters they play. And obviously with certain actors and actresses, it becomes more than that, and it goes into racial issues, which is fucking absurd. And like at the end of the day, it's like if I don't like a character, I wasn't a huge Rose fan, but like I would never even consider taking that out on the actor or even making a big deal. Like, oh yeah, character's not for me, move on.
Also, this fan base acts like, once again, that the Star Wars characters are written by Shakespeare. Most of them are one-dimensional. The reason why Darth Vader is held up for decades is because there's a bit more dimensions to him. He's a bit more complex. There's like 3 complex characters in this entire series, so, most of them are puppets.
3 of them are Vader.
Right. But, once again, Reva doesn't have much to do in this episode. They put Vader in the spotlight here. But I did enjoy the tension between her and the fifth brother, them kind of competing to be Vader's best friend.
Not a good friend to have. Ask Obi-Wan. By the way, Vader...
Well, ask Vader. Maybe Obi-Wan's not a great friend.
From my perspective, Obi-Wan's a terrible friend.
Right.
Him not choosing to kill Obi-Wan right there and instead opting to burn him alive like what happened to him is fucking awesome. I thought that was really, like, I liked shit like that.
No, him setting fire to, and then bringing him down, awesome. But he's not going to do any serious damage to him because Alec Guinness still has a pretty face in A New Hope. That's why I thought if Vader was just chasing Jedi throughout the galaxy and that was just if that was Ben Safdie and he just murdered him that way where he burns him alive and that's just his, that's how he gets back at the Jedi for what he had to suffer through. I thought the writing there was very good, but they don't go so far. They pull the camera back there and then obviously the fire goes up and I guess even though, canon, Vader can fly a little.
Well, and he can go back with the Force. He literally is in the same distance away.
Dude, it's not only a Star Wars thing. I think it's more of a Disney Plus thing where so much of the shows it's constantly teasing more. They're going to fight again and Obi-Wan's going to be a little better. There's just no surprises with these shows, or the surprises are just so telegraphed because they know it's something we want to see. I don't know. It's hard to put it in words, but it feels like every episode is just a tease for the next episode until we get to the finale, and then there's no reason to ever go back and watch it. So far, these first 3 episodes, I don't know how much rewatchability they actually have.
No, they have YouTube rewatchability, which I consider to be like, I'll watch Darth Vader and Obi-Wan on YouTube.
Right.
If it comes across my recommended.
Yeah, but I thought Indira Varma was cool. It was cool to see her. She's a great actress, man. I wish she was in more things.
I know.
She kind of fits the Star Wars universe.
I've seen the guy who played Jack and Hagar. He's in Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I like seeing Game of Thrones characters. That's the new, that person was in Star Wars, or that person was in Harry Potter. There's so many of them, so they're bound to be in pretty much anything that you start watching now. But yeah, it was good to see her. I think, obviously, I'm a little tongue-in-cheek when I talk about the Jedi being a bunch of losers now because they won't stand up and help fight the Empire when it only took Luke, really. That was one Jedi when, presumably there were at least, 60.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good number.
And they can't do dick, but, obviously the infrastructure, the foundation isn't in place. The rebellion is not fully operational yet. And I think seeing these little snippets kind of gives me personally a sense of they're building towards something here.
Right, yeah.
That a little by little, a fully functional actual rebellion that needs to probably be in place because if that's a rebellion, in place, Luke, what does he do? So obviously I think that's the answer when you say, oh, why don't the Jedi do anything? Well, they kind of need help. And that's kind of what Star Wars has always been about, and
they're not soldiers.
And laying the foundation for that, I thought was pretty fun to see.
And those scenes with Darth Vader when he's walking through the town and he kills that family, he kills the father and the son.
Well, even Reva was damn.
Right, yeah, the neck snap.
I thought he was all hype.
Shout out to Luke to bringing this guy back to the light. That's quite the accomplishment, man. But yeah, I think maybe the Inquisitors are realizing we bit off more than we can chew, because this isn't someone who's going to give us second and third chances. Darth Vader, once again, he tells her, you won't live to regret it if you fail. But once again, Darth Vader failed, so he's probably going to take it out on one of them. He's going to be a pissed off Darth Vader in Episode 4, and I can't wait for that.
Are they super fast?
The Jedi?
The bad guys. So Obi-Wan gets a clear head start, gets cut off by Darth Vader. Later
Darth
has
Vader?
Oh. And then Leia, she goes through the tunnel 20 minutes before, and Reva cuts her off at the end.
Once again, it's like a storytelling tool, and I don't think that they use it so effectively. Because once again, I guess you could sometimes forgive it, but it happens twice in this episode.
Usain Bolton.
Yeah, right, yeah. And once again, it's a filmmaking trick, but yeah, you go for it twice. With them, them leaving Leia by herself was also stupid, obviously. Leia was right to send her back, but they should all leave. But I guess Darth Vader would have killed all those innocents, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, and like I said, I enjoyed his movements, that he's obviously in the suit, so he's slower, and he force pushes him. He does the choppy chop move that, once again, Luke did to him, so like father, like son. I don't know how that works with the timelines.
And I like the idea of, Vader just absolutely... hold on.
And I think there's genuine fear from Obi-Wan in those moments. Where it's not just you're reunited with your friend and you're seeing the terrible thing that happened to him, but it's, who is this guy? This is Anakin? This guy's fucking terrifying. And he spoke about that it was the first time acting where he felt genuine fear, where he just didn't have to pretend because the suit is huge. It's a 7-foot robot, man, with a fucking machete, the laser machete. And I think this was probably the best performance so far. I think that he's been good in the role. They haven't given him much to work with, but here, just those expressions of fear, you felt it.
Whenever he's like reflecting on things, I think sometimes in the moment he gets doesn't get lost, because I think the character itself is a lost character. But when he's reflecting on his past trauma and things like Anakin and things about to pass, I think like there's a little like a little light that shines in his eyes, or if it's something positive, and if it's something negative, you can see that fear or that the trauma kind of creep across his face. And obviously he's a fucking terrific actor, so he's able to hit those cues very well.
It definitely comes out in the scenes with Vader, and also the scenes with Leia when he is reminiscing about her mother. And I thought that was a nice way to tell her, your mom was a good person, without actually telling her. And Leia picks up on it, but she's still a kid, so I guess she'll give him some of the benefit of the doubt there.
Shut up, Padme. Leia.
You shut up, Carrie Fisher. The people complaining about breaks in continuity are really pissing me off. I don't think it.
In what way?
There's really nothing there.
I think there's obviously if it's something major, then I think the Grand Inquisitor, I think you can have beef with, especially if you are a fan of Rebels.
You know what? At this point, I guess because I'm not a fan of Rebels. Because at times
when they kind of, with Cad Bane and things like that, they've obviously haven't treated these characters well, but they've also acknowledged that these characters exist and kind of hold some continuity in that regard. So to kind of just and it doesn't really make sense. You could have had the same Reva could have been the same character in a lot of things if it hadn't been the Grand Inquisitor that she killed.
Yeah, no, his death makes absolutely no sense. You take out his death from that scene, maybe Obi-Wan just throws something at her with the Force and gets away.
It leaves a position of power open, but there are other ways you can get around that without, unless you're intentionally just trying to do things like that. What I don't really mind is when they say, like when Obi-Wan and it's been when they meet in Star Wars, and they talk about it hasn't been a long time, and you figure that was the last time they met was on Mustafar, but now we know it's this, and changing it in that aspect, or Leia seeing Ben, even though I think that kind of does make sense, because she does know him as Obi-Wan fighting in the Clone Wars together, even though it's not specifically laid out, and you can either take it either way. There's interpretation and ways you can mentally kind of make it fit. Straight up killing somebody who shows up later, you can't really make fit, unless obviously they're still alive.
And Kathleen Kennedy has billed this fight as the rematch of the century. I don't think that's what we saw. I think Obi-Wan, like I said, he's going to get back on his feet, get more in tune with the Force. Maybe Qui-Gon gives him a pep talk. You need your Phil Jackson in those moments. Mm-hmm. Obi-Wan's always been at his best with Qui-Gon there. The moves he put on Darth Maul still get me so hyped to this day. That's why Phantom Menace is a good movie. It's all because of that ending. So I'm not ready to say. I'm still leaning towards Darth Vader didn't need to be in this show, even though I'm loving a lot of the stuff they're doing with him. I'm leaning more now towards it should have just been a Darth Vader show. I don't need Obi-Wan whatsoever. Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi. And I hope we do get more into his mind. And I think that's where Hayden Christensen will be able to maybe do some voice acting there. Or maybe there will be moments with him without the mask, just contemplating, thinking to himself. Because getting into Darth Vader's thoughts, I think that it's one of the interesting parts about reading about him in the novels or the comics, seeing that, the conflict is still there. And especially after what he did in this episode, if there's still conflict there, I think that's going to fuck with a lot of people. Oh, Anakin's still in there to an extent. Maybe there's some regret. I went too far in these moments, but there's just so much rage.
Well, he always has,
it's the only way he can express it.
Even when he shows down with when he faces Ahsoka as Vader, he's clearly Darth Vader, but there is... And just some of his actions and things that he says, is you could tell there's still a little Anakin in there.
Right.
And I think if anyone, obviously Ahsoka can bring that out to him, I think Obi-Wan definitely can. And I'm not talking about a whole scene where he's self-reflecting out loud and all this, but just little subtle moments where you think maybe he pulls a punch, or maybe he stops for a split second.
That's what it was in Rebels, man. The mask cracks and she sees his face, and the voice from the original voice actor comes out. It's not James Earl Jones. Yeah, I think a moment like that would be great.
And I think something like that, I think, would be a more satisfying conclusion to an epic showdown than someone just outright winning, or
right. I don't think there's going to be a winner here. It's going to end in a tie, and that's fine. But it's about the emotional climax.
And even for what it does to Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan now and Alec Guinness, and when we first see him,
totally different. Not totally different, but Alec Guinness is a bit more cheerful.
Right, like I think that's where you got to get to with Obi-Wan. By the time he's at peace. And maybe he's kind of embracing his new life.
And I think it is sweet that Leia would be the one to bring him to that place, to get him back on board with the fight, being willing to lead Luke in a certain direction, obviously. So I think all that actually does work for me. I mean, and obviously we're going to have to just see how it plays out with parts 4, 5, and 6, but I think that's a good place to end this review. Mm-hmm. And we'll actually be joined by Teddy for a spoiler discussion.
Hey.
Don't sound too happy.
No, I'm happy.
Think we're shoehorning Teddy into this review?
I mean...
We've already gotten enough of Teddy. He's already iconic.
They can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, okay. First off, don't tell me what to do, alright? Second, check your tone. Do you think you're better than me? Also, why am I the apprentice?
Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge, so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our Patreon supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us rich.